Kobe from Heavyweight MMA, today with razor sharp Cory Shadbolt, MMA fighter from New Zealand. How are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, bro. Thanks for having me on. I've seen all your interviews and that with Fergus and Casper, so it's cool to be on.
Yeah, bro, some good lads. You're amongst some good company there. You're associated with Canterbury, Canterbury Fight Centre, right, under Coach Hostile and that?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I've been training there about probably 7 years now. Yeah.
Nice,
So it's
man.
been a while. So it's always good down there. Carl's always pushing us hard, and yeah, it's like the best place to train in the South Island, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I first met Karl Webber and Aaron Boyes in where I am now in Macau, China, in I think it was 2011 or something like that. They brought over a couple of young fresh lads, Kai Kara France and a Dan Hooker and a few other lads
Oh yeah.
on their first
Yeah, yeah.
professional fights over here, and it was good to meet those guys. They're all really nice, hey.
Yeah. Carl's actually told us some of the yarns about the fights over in Macau and some of the crazy stuff that would be happening in that scene at the time. And yeah, it sounds like it was a lot of fun back there because there's no opportunities to really fight in Macau now, is there? Like there's still fights happening there, and not really.
They have a few Muay Thai fights here sometimes, but not too much. They've recently had a UFC event, so I believe they've
Oh,
contracted
okay.
one of the casinos here to show UFC. So there should be one later in the year, I believe, maybe November or
Oh,
something.
that's
Yeah,
that's
so that'll be
cool.
good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro. So talking about international travel and fighting, man, you've been doing a bit of that. You had your first pro MMA fight in India, and you had a second pro MMA fight in Thailand. Quite the jet setter.
Yeah, that's correct. So pretty much how that come about is I planned to come over here. It's my second time in Thailand training. Last time I was an amateur here fighting, and this time being a pro, I just want to get real active and fight heaps. And so I started just getting in contact with whatever promoter is anywhere in Asia. And yeah, the first one that came through was Veswa Fighting Championship, which is based in North India. So it was crazy. We ended up me and just one of my mates who's only had one kickboxing fight himself. We flew over, and yeah, we fought in a city called Chandigarh. I'd never even heard of it until fighting there, and it was a crazy spot to be fighting. It's a big scene there. They had probably 1,500 people watching the fight in the arena. There's Bollywood stars in the crowd. I searched these guys up, never heard of them, but they got more followers than Israel Adesanya, and I'm like, what the heck? This is crazy. So yeah, I fought a dude there who was one of their top wushu fighters, and yeah, managed to get the rear naked choke on him. And then my fight the other day was on CFC, and that was here in Bangkok. And yeah, CFC is a good promotion here. I fought on their show as an amateur, and this time I got to fight an American, Marquis Dames, and yeah, I ended up cutting him around his eye with an elbow, and the ref stepped in and called a stop to that one. So yeah, so far 2 first-round finishes and getting to travel the world and see some crazy shit while I'm at it. So
Yeah,
can't complain.
that's awesome. How was India, man? I've never been to India.
Like it started off pretty scary, bro. So we actually got there 3 a.m. and we almost got robbed. We couldn't get a taxi, so I suppose it's what I kind of find fun about traveling around the world to fight. So you get these kind of stories, but we couldn't get an Uber, couldn't get a Grab, anything. So we just kind of trusted this random bloke on a scooter, and we're like, "Oh, can you give us a ride to the hotel?" And I had to have my suitcase. It was 3 of us on a little scooter, and had to have my suitcase above my head like this, carry it for 20 kilometers. And yeah, somewhere along that ride, we pretty much went by this dodgy overpass, and next minute, about 10 guys are running at us, and even the guy that was driving us shat his pants and started just hooning it off because yeah, these guys are like zombies running out from under an underpass at us, but. Yeah, after that, after we got to the hotel and nearly got robbed and calmed down, it was actually it was a crazy experience to see it. Just cows in the middle of the road, all sorts of wild stuff that I almost felt like I time traveled. If I had to explain it, pulling stuff down the road with donkeys and that. And the part of India we were into, they didn't speak a lot of English, so they kind of just added to the whole experience. It was crazy.
Yeah, man, you remind me. I went to Nepal a few times, And it's similar in a way, in some ways, that like there's cows walking around the roads as well. And you see, like, it makes you happy to be in a country like Australia and New Zealand, right? Because some of the people are living in such poverty, man. Like, you see different levels, of course. There's people living in beautiful
Yeah.
houses and that, but there's people living under a piece of metal in a park and stuff, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I sort of found. Like, because obviously being here in Thailand, there's some poverty in Thailand, but I feel like it's actually people that haven't been to Thailand. It's actually way more developed than some people think as well. But being in India, like, yeah, it's just crazy poverty, especially in the city that we were in. Obviously, as you said, there was the wealth, but yeah, like people begging in the middle of the road, and yeah, like you can tell people just live a very simple life there. It was yeah, crazy experience to see it, and definitely makes you feel grateful.
Yeah, interesting to hear they got a busting MMA scene too. There was something that reminded me of there was a few years back in Macau there was a amateur world championships and it was done by a Russian company. So they brought
Oh yeah,
out like all the different weight divisions were best of the best in Russia. They were like UFC champion level, and they were
yeah.
one of them was Umar Nurmagomedov in his amateur days
Oh wow.
the level that they're at, is the team that came from Russia. Then they bought a team from Australia, they bought a team from India, they bought teams from China, etc. Chinese guys were pretty good at stand up actually, but the
Yeah.
Australian team, I went up to them and said, "Oh, so how many fights you guys had?" Three of them had had zero fights, zero MMA fights, zero fights in anything, and they've come to a world championship to fight
Oh wow.
these guys, and they were just getting iced every round. And same with the Indians, man. They were just like rabbits for the slaughter. They just brought them in and they just got destroyed. So I wasn't too confident
Yeah.
in the MMA scene, but it's interesting to hear they have one.
Yep. I think it's just recently like it started to blow up from what I could understand because I was talking to a few different guys like the people had come from all over India for this promotion that we were on. So yeah, it seems to me like a couple of years ago it was nothing, and now it's like really blowing up. Like I actually think a former opponent of mine and now friend Zach Bennett, who trains at Oliver MMA and now at Soma, I think he's actually fighting in India as well soon. Like I could see a lot of guys getting opportunities to fight there because they've got such a massive population and they're starting to enjoy the sport. So all it needs is people with money to back the sport there, and I think it's going to blow up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man. Man, so other going back to Thailand, I believe you trained at Tiger before, Tiger Muay Thai and also Bangtao MMA, man. How do you find those two places and what's the difference?
Well, I've only trained at Tiger Muay Thai like pretty much one day. I went there and trained. I've mainly trained with the Hickman brothers and Brad and that at Bangtao, and yeah, that gym's it's amazing. Like obviously the training's super high level back home, but one thing that you get at a gym like Bangtao, I feel, is like everyone's going there to be like the best in the world. That like look like you got a whole mat, 50 guys, and everyone wants to be a UFC fighter or fight in one championship or whatever. So um, it's just great. It feels like like every sparring kind of feels like a fight because you're sparring a new dude every day. And whereas at a small gym back home, like you get used to your sparring partners, so it gives you that feeling of a fight, having to like feel out your opponent at the start of each round sparring, and then like the dude smokes you, you're sitting there going, "How the heck did that happen?" And then you search him up, and he's some dude from Russia with 50 pro MMA fights, and probably the only reason he isn't in the UFC is because he wouldn't pass the drug test, and you feel a bit better about yourself. But it's a yeah, it's like it's just a crazy training experience. And then like even in my fight on the weekend, it's crazy to have advice from guys like Brad Riddell, like cornering and like teaching the classes, and like Frank Hickman, George Hickman, like Alex, like all these guys that are just top of their game and helping dudes like the Volkanovskis in that train, and yeah, just getting to train under them in a tropical paradise. You can't complain. It's great.
Yeah, man. I came over to Bangtao. Was it early this year or late last year, one of the two? And I did a couple of privates with Brad. I'm an old fella, but I still kind of appreciate the art of it. And he was an
Oh,
awesome
nice.
coach, man. I love the techniques, and I brought him back to Macau to train with my mates. A few of just entries, because he's a shorter fighter. His entries
Yeah.
into combinations are really nice. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like he coaches the kickboxing classes, and yeah, it's just like he gives world class advice. And like good thing with Brad, I suppose too, is not only was he like a top 10 UFC fighter, like he was also one of the best kickboxers in the world. So when you're learning striking from that man, and even the grappling, you know that there's not many people really around with better coaching, because some fighters are also not that good at coaching, but he's a world class coach as well as a fighter. So he's got
Yeah.
so much to like draw from experience wise.
True, man. And you talk about that gym, the feeling of it, it's so different, right? Like for me, I like because I'm just training for fun these days. When I go to a gym like that, it feels like not really a place I want to be other than doing a private with someone like Brad. But for you guys, it's good you get those extra looks. I prefer the friendliness and brotherhood of a gym that and you walk in and that, but it definitely helps you to get
Yeah.
those different looks, right?
Yeah, and I suppose the good thing is like being this is my second time here, and the time I leave, I would have spent about a year training at the gym. So you do meet those guys that you can kind of get a bit of a team bonding with, and you still get that team vibe. Obviously, I don't think to the same extent as like back home, but it's good to still have that team vibe. And I think the Hickman brothers and that do a good job at creating that team vibe with the guys that are there for a while, even though it's a huge gym. But at the same time, yeah, it is good when some random dudes turn up from a place you've never heard of, and they're trying to knock you out, because it kind of helps kind of just helps you get that experience. And like, yeah, if you can survive some of those rounds, you're probably going to be pretty sweet in your fight.
That's true. That's true, man. And you're there with your girlfriend, right, in Thailand?
Yeah, my wife. Yeah,
Your
yeah.
wife.
I actually got
Okay.
married. Yeah, got
Oh,
married
nice,
quite young at like 21. So
nice,
yeah,
nice.
like yeah, she comes over and just does all the fitness classes and keeps herself busy, and yeah, it
Nice,
works out
man.
good for us both.
Man, just a question. So on I don't know about your origin story. It's hard to find info on you, brother. So like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
did you kick off in training?
I started when I was like 14, uh, in like karate and that, and then I moved to the Academy of Combat for MMA, an old gym run by a guy named Jeff Aiken in Christchurch. It's quite well known in the scene there. Um, and that's where I met Fergus. And then me and Fergus basically like two young dudes at the gym. He was more obsessed with grappling. I was more obsessed with Muay Thai. And then started training together and decided we wanted to like go to the best place we could for fighting. And then that's where I basically had done my research. I was like, oh yeah, Ferg, I think we should go train with this Coach Hostile guy. He seems
Hostile dude. Jesus Christ.
yeah. I think it seems like this guy knows how to train fighters. And then yeah, after about a year of doing MMA at this other gym, we went and started training with Carl, and yeah, it's been training ever since. And yeah, I haven't had as many fights as I'd like, to be honest, over the years. I had 10 amateur fights total, but they weren't all in MMA because if you look at my tapology, as you can see, I lost my first two amateur fights. And then after that, I haven't lost since, but I went on to go 3-0 in kickboxing and Muay Thai,
Yep.
and 1-0 in boxing, and then also won my last few amateur MMA bouts as well. So I feel like, yeah, like after losing those first couple of fights, I've kind of just flown under the radar, but at the same time, I've managed to win like national level titles in that in jiu-jitsu and blue belt, purple belt levels. So it makes it like, I've always kind of looked at like probably not the best fight for people to take, especially when people are even trying to pad their amateur records for some reason, because there wasn't a lot to gain by beating me. But then at the same time, people knew I had good jiu-jitsu, they knew I had good striking, and so it was always hard to get matches. And that's why I'm so happy to get two pro fights within a month. And I would say I'll be fighting again in a few weeks in either Muay Thai or MMA as well. So it's
Nice,
good.
man. And
Yeah.
you're 24 now, is it?
Yeah, I actually turned 24 like a couple days after I got back from India from that
Yeah.
last fight. Yeah.
Nice, man. So you still got time to have a nice active career. What's your plans, man? Like obviously you want to get up your fights. Are you going to be any particular areas or fight promotions you're going to be looking for?
So right now I've got nothing lined up, but I've got my name down for opportunities all around Asia. So I think CFC might be looking at doing another event in July. If that comes through, I'll probably jump on that. I know George Hickman has put me down for the Kangoo fight nights that are happening.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can get on one of those. I know I've heard
Give
it's quite
yourself
hard to
some
get up.
fights with some cans, brother.
Yeah, like I've heard it's hard to get on that actually, but
Yeah.
hopefully I can get jump on it. And then also like yeah, I'm just like chucking my name into more shows in India and just anywhere that's not too expensive to fly to from Thailand and that. So yeah, hopefully some of that comes through. And if not though, thing I love about Thailand is I'll just go down to the local stadium in Phuket and I'll fight whoever turns up. So yeah.
Nice, man. And has there been much of a change for you between the novice, in the amateur to the professional? Does it feel very different now? Now the difference is mostly usually like elbows and less padding and whatever, right?
Yeah. Like I haven't noticed too much of a difference. Yeah, obviously being that both my fights have only ended up about 3.5 minutes or whatever, so didn't get to compete too much longer than the amateur rounds. But I actually like it. You don't have to like come out rushing as much, whereas you can take your time a little bit, settle into the fight, and then like kind of just slowly build your momentum, which actually I think works out good for me. And I like the fact that you can now throw the knees to the head and the elbows. Just it adds another layer of violence. To be honest, I like it. I like
Yeah.
it.
Nice,
Yeah,
man. Good,
that's
man.
good.
All right, man. I think that's all I need to ask today. Just a quick intro to your brother, and we'll be in touch as you move through your career. I'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it heaps.
Cool. Thanks, bro.
Cool.
Thanks.